The Oncoming Storm by Whiskey Mike 1. Chapter 8. Horizon. The line for the parchment signing was long. Every pony had to write their name on it. The mayor, Filthy Rich, and Cherry was sat behind the desk with the parchment on top of it, curling at one end because the amount of names already on it. This is getting annoying now. We've been here for like an hour. Patience, Caramel. Not too long now. I was the leader of the resistance fighters, and Caramel was my second in command. A loyal pony, but could never stand still. I remember this one time we had to vandalise Ponyville train station with slogans, but Caramel had the idea of knocking out the guards and writing ROE on their foreheads. Mare was not impressed, but I stood up for Caramel. I think that the point when the mayor took a disliking to me. There was me, Caramel, Bonbon, Berry Punch, and 7 others in the resistance fighters. We all wanted to fight with a bit more violence, but politics kept getting in our way. All of us were against the petition, but we had to sign it. I stepped up to the table. Cartwheel, I'm glad to see you here. I was wondering if I would have to force you to sign it, said the mayor, with a smile on her face. I said nothing, picked up the pencil with my mouth, and wrote my false name on the parchment. I turned and walked back down the corridor and back into my office. 2 hours later, the communication system in the cave came to life. Attention all staff. Our petition, along with the other cells' petitions, will be sent to Canterlot within the next 5 minutes via Dragon Breath. All staff members are welcome to see this event in the main hall. This is the first step towards a new future for us all. The mayor's voice sounded awful in the tin can that was in the top right hand corner of my office. Stringing tin cans, a big difference to the comms that I had in the Royal Guard. The main hall was full of ponies, all facing the stage. The entrance doors flew open and the petition was carried in by ponies on their back down the middle aisle. Our petition was now combined with the Pegasi and the unicorns. It gave an almighty thump when it was bucked onto the stage by the now exhausted ponies. Mare walked towards the pile of paper, which now matched her in height, and placed her hoof on it as she turned to the audience. Today is the beginning of a new era in Equestria, an era of peace. She turned to her left, and from the curtains 4 baby dragons walked out. All the fillies in the audience sighed at their cuteness. I studied dragons at school in Tottenham. It was my favourite subject aside from the history of flight. All 4 dragons were a different species to each other. Horn snout, Arctic spineback, cave dweller, and a Welsh red. They positioned themselves around the pile of parchment, took a deep breath and breathed fire all over the parchments. Purple, blue, white and red flames engulfed the parchments until it was all gone. The whole audience let out a long cheer as the 4 dragons got their breath back and walked off stage. Now all we had to do was wait for a reply. How long could that take? 2 days passed and still nothing. Was it sent to the wrong address? Or did the baby dragons actually set it on fire? I'd just gotten back to my office out from lunch, and I sat back down on my chair to relax. I was nearly asleep when a flash of light woke me up and knocked me off my chair. Hovering above my desk was a piece of parchment surrounded by a yellow hue. To all members of the Republic of Equestria, your petition has been acknowledged. Myself and the High Courts of Canterlot have agreed to meet with you and your authorities. Royal chariots will arrive in your towns and cities tomorrow at noon. They will escort you to the Canterlot Castle to discuss terms, and hopefully we all can lead Equestria to a better future. Her Royal Highness of Equestria, Princess Celestia. I was not expecting that response. Neither was Caramel, who burst into my office clutching his copy of the letter. We both just looked at each other dumbstruck. 5 minutes to noon, Ponyville Square was packed with ponies. Mare and the delegates of Earthcell were all gathered in front of the town hall. The mayor was wrapping up her speech to the town. The crowd let out a cheer, and the delegates left the town hall and made their way to the statue of Celestia in the middle of the square. "Cartwheel!" yelled out the mayor. "Yes?" I poked my head through the crowd. "Aren't you coming?" "I'm not brave enough for politics." "Nonsense! This is your chance to see Celestia in a different light. You and your partisans think of her as a tyrant. but she is actually a wise leader. I just stared at her. I could think of 1,000 reasons why she was wrong, but I tried telling her so many times, she just wouldn't listen. Not when wanting to get into an argument, I turned away. The sound of chattering ponies was interrupted by the sound of 4 Royal Guard Pegasus ponies swooping overhead. I looked at the town clock, 12 o'clock on the dot. The carriage and the Pegasi came to a stop a few feet from the statue. The doors flew open, followed by a surly-looking soldier, and he took one look at the delegates and scoffed. "Is this all?" "Well, now that you mentioned it, we are one short." He was just on his way to the little pony's room. "There he is! Oh, Cartwheel!" I cursed the mayor under my breath and made my way over to the carriage. The officer looked at me. He was the one that stunned me. Big Mac and AJ. He used his magic to bring up a clipboard and a quill. "Name and position within the ROE?" "Cartwheel, leader of the armed resistance." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Delegates, please make your way onto the carriage and mind your head." "Oh, very polite," said the mayor as she made her way onto the golden carriage. The manners were just put on, I thought to myself. I was the last to board the golden carriage. The purple silk covers of the seats were comforting, and the gems in the roof made the whole interior sparkle. It must have weighed a ton. I would never have lifted this on my own. The only seat vacant was next to the mayor. Reluctantly, I sat next to her. "If we get imprisoned by the Empire for being traitors, I will kill you," I whispered in her ear. "And if we don't, I'm still gonna kill you." The carriage took off into the sky. Every pony was full of excitement. For them it was their first visit to Canterlot. I was not so optimistic, neither was the mayor. Instead of talking to the advisors about what to say or do in the presence of Celestia, she just kept looking out of the window and down to earth below. "Nervous?" I asked. "No, not nervous. I'm just contemplating what Equestria will be like if we fail." She kept looking out of the window. Had my views finally stuck into the mayor's head? Was she finally getting the message? A bit late now. All 3 carriages transporting the leaders of each cell pulled up outside the drawbridge to Canterlot Castle. At the same time, the Pegasi pulling the carriages were exhausted, gasping for breath and barely able to stand. The officers straightened them out with a few harsh words. Felt like hitting him. Barking out the orders as if the Pegasi were useless. The Pegasi were not royal guards, they were conscripts in white overalls and thin steel armour. The officers, on the other hoof, were royal guards. With their solid gold armour and their magic, they felt like they were superior to other ponies in every way. The drawbridge lowered. The large chains clanked. The bridge landed with a loud bang, and before us was the courtyard of Canterlot Castle. As much as I hated the Empire and Celestia, I have to admit that they knew how to build castles. With white walls, golden battlements, purple banners, marble statues, and not a leaf out of place on the trees and the bushes. We were led into the castle by the officer, giving us a lecture on the architecture, the flowers and the statues in the courtyard. We approached the main door. It was huge, solid oak and varnished to mirror finish. We opened, and we were greeted at the other side by the grand staircase. This is where Celestia would meet invited guests to the Grand Galloping Gala, but she was nowhere to be seen. "Excuse me, sir, but aren't we supposed to be meeting the princess?" Cheerilee asked as we walked up the stairs. "Of course you are, Miss Cheerilee, but not here. The princess has another venue in mind." The staircase was endless. I wanted to use my wings so badly, but I had to grin and bear it. I looked down to see how far we had climbed up. The spiral staircase went on forever, and so did the officer, giving us more lectures. "What's the matter, Cart? Afraid of heights?" "Caramel, if only you knew." Finally, we were at the top of the stairs. We were all tired, as the officer before us was yet another door. If it was more stairs, I swear to Faust, I would go mad. The door was solid gold with 2 guards either side of it. On the door was the royal seal of Celestia, a seal I once vowed to protect, but now loathed. The guards turned and opened the door with their magic. "Welcome. Please come in. It was her, sat on a golden throne atop a platform, which had a built-in water feature, the ruler of all Equestria, Princess Celestia. I don't know if it was fear or bewilderment that made us freeze, but all I knew was that the doors closed behind us and was locked. We were trapped. Celestia got off her throne and walked towards us with a smile on her face. Mare, good to see you again. It has been a while. Yes. Sorry, Your Majesty. No need to apologise, Mare. I'm sure you have been busy with organisation and with all your members. I have to say, I am impressed. Thank you. After all, an organisation of your size is hard to maintain. It needs a good leadership system, full of dedicated ponies, otherwise it would crumble and fall apart. A knot in my stomach occurred. I knew it. It was a trap. But the other ponies were smiling. They fell for a lie. Celestia's horn glowed and the floor started to rumble. The floor split down the middle and a large table rose up. It was a dinner table with all the trimmings. Plates, glasses and napkins were all arranged in a wonderful manner. We all looked up at Celestia in disbelief, and she just looked at us and smiled. Freshly cut grass, daisy soup, cherry juice and apple pie for dessert. The princess was not eating, which I found odd. Every delegate had their head down feasting on this banquet of food. Even the mayor was cramming food down her throat. The last time I ate like this was when I graduated from the Royal Guard Academy. When the plates were bare, we slumped back into our chairs and waited for our food to settle. Potions are amazing, aren't they? They go with everything, even food, said Celestia. I stared down at my plate, and my vision was getting blurry. I looked around the table. Some of the delegates had their heads on the table and some were in a state of dizziness. I looked towards the mare who was sat next to Celestia. She was staring at me, lifeless, with cherry juice dribbling from her mouth and onto her shoulder. I turned to Celestia, who was laughing. My eyes were getting heavy. If this was my last breath, I would make it worthwhile. Damn you, Celestia.